Buddhāvataṃsaka Sutra. Book 37. Manifestation of Buddhas. Video 3. In the ocean is a great wish-fulfilling jewel called treasury of adornments of all worlds, fully endowed with 1,000,000 qualities, eliminating calamities and fulfilling wishes of beings wherever it is. However, this jewel cannot be seen by beings of little merit. The supreme wish-fulfilling jewel of the body of Buddha is also like this, called able to gladden all beings. If any sentient beings see the body of Buddha, hear the name, and praise the virtues, they will all be enabled to escape forever the pains and ills of birth and death. Even if all beings in all worlds focus their minds all at once on the desire to see Buddha, they will all be enabled to see and their wish will be fulfilled. The Buddha body cannot be seen by sentient beings of little merit unless they can be tamed by the spiritual power of Buddha. If sentient beings, because of seeing the body of Buddha, plant roots of goodness and develop them, they are enabled to see the body of Buddha for their development. This is the 10th characteristic of the body of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should see it thus, because their minds are measureless, pervading the 10 directions, because their actions are as unhindered as space, because they penetrate everywhere in the realm of reality, because they abide in absolute truth, because they have no birth or death, because they remain equal throughout past, present, and future, because they are forever rid of all false discriminations, because they continue their eternal vows, because they purify all worlds, because they adorn each Buddha body. Then the great enlightening being universally good, in order to again clarify what he meant, said in verse. Just as space pervades the 10 directions, like form but not a form, existent but not existent, omnipresent, without bounds, in beings' bodies and lands, in all times, so does the true body of Buddhas pervade all phenomena, invisible, ungraspable, yet manifesting bodies to teach beings. Just as space cannot be grasped yet lets all beings do their work without thinking what it does, how it does it, or for whom, the physical action of Buddhas is also thus, causing beings to practice good ways, yet the Buddha never has any notion of acting on them variously. When the sun comes up over the land it completely removes the darkness. Mountains, trees, lakes, flowers, earth, and all beings, all the various species receive benefit. The Son of Buddha emerging too is thus, causing human and celestial good actions to grow, obliterating the darkness of ignorance, so they gain the light of knowledge and always experience all glorious bliss. When the sun first comes up it shines first on the high mountains, then the others, then shines on the high plains, then the whole land, yet the sun never has any discrimination. The light of Buddha is also thus, first illumining the enlightening beings, then the self-enlightened, then last the listeners and all sentient beings, yet the Buddha basically has no stirring thoughts. Just as the blind cannot see the sun, yet sunlight still benefits them, enabling them to know time and season and receive food and drink, to be freed from troubles and gain physical ease. In the same way faithless beings do not see Buddha, yet Buddha benefits them as well. By hearing Buddha's name or being touched by Buddha's light they can even reach enlightenment. Just as the moon in the sky outshines the stars and appears to wax and wane, shows its reflection in all waters, and appears face to face with those who behold it, the clear moon of Buddha is also thus, outshining other vehicles, showing length and brevity, appearing in the clear mind water of humans and gods, seeming to be present to everyone. Just as the god Brahma, while in its own palace, appears in all the Brahma abodes in the universe, so all humans and celestials can see it, yet does not actually divide its body to go to them. Likewise does the Buddha's manifestation of bodies pervade everywhere in the 10 directions, those bodies countless, incalculable in number, yet without dividing bodies, without discrimination. Like a physician skilled in his arts, seeing whom all are cured, and though his life is ended he embalms his body so that it will work as before, so also does the Supreme Healer have all knowledge of techniques, manifesting embodiment as Buddha by excellent practices of yore, so the afflictions of all who see are destroyed. In the ocean is a superb jewel which radiates countless beams of light. Those who come in contact with it become the same color, and the eyes of those who see it are purified. The supreme jewel is also thus. Those whom its light touches become the same in appearance. In those who get to see it the 5 eyes open. They break through the darkness of the senses and dwell in Buddhahood. The wish-fulfilling jewel satisfies all desires. Those of little virtue cannot see it. Though this is not by the jewel's discrimination, the jewel of Buddha is also thus, fulfilling all desires. Faithless beings cannot see it, but not because Buddha abandons them. How should great enlightening beings know the voice of Buddha? They should know Buddha's voice is omnipresent, because it pervades all sounds. They should know Buddha's voice pleases all according to their mentalities, because its explanation of truth is clear and comprehensive. They should know Buddha's voice gladdens all according to their resolve, because their minds gain clarity and coolness. They should know Buddha's voice teaches without error and timing, because all who need and are able to hear it do. They should know Buddha's voice has no birth or death, because it is like the echo of a call. They should know Buddha's voice has no owner, because it is produced by cultivation of all appropriate practices. They should know Buddha's voice is extremely profound, because it cannot be measured. They should know Buddha's voice has no falsehood or deviousness, because it is born of the realm of truth. They should know Buddha's voice has no end, because it permeates the cosmos. They should know Buddha's voice has no change, because it reaches the ultimate. Great enlightening beings should know that Buddha's voice is neither quantified nor unquantified, neither has a master nor lacks a master, neither communicates nor does not communicate. Why? It is as when the world is about to disintegrate, there is no master, no maker, yet it spontaneously emits 4 voices. One says, you all should know that the well-being of the first meditation stage, free from the ills of desire, surpasses the realm of desire. The sentient beings hearing this are naturally able to accomplish the first meditation stage, relinquish the body of the realm of desire, and be born in Brahma heaven. The second voice says, you should know that the well-being of the second meditation stage, without reflection and rumination, surpasses the Brahma heaven. The sentient beings hearing this naturally manage to accomplish the second meditation stage, relinquish the body of Brahma heaven, and are born in the light sound heaven. The third voice says, you should know that the well-being of the third meditation stage has no flaws and surpasses the light sound heaven. Hearing this, the sentient beings are naturally able to achieve the third meditation stage, relinquish the body of the light sound heaven, and are born in the heaven of universal purity. The fourth voice says, you should know that the tranquility of the fourth meditation stage surpasses the heaven of universal purity. Hearing this, the sentient beings are naturally able to achieve the fourth meditation stage, relinquish the body of the heaven of universal purity, and are born in the heaven of vast results. These voices have no master or maker, they are just produced by the power of good practices of sentient beings. The voice of Buddha is also like this, without master or maker, without discrimination, not entering, not emerging, yet producing four great voices from the power of the virtuous qualities of Buddha. One voice says, you all should know that all conditioned states are miserable. There is the misery of health, the misery of animality, the misery of hungry ghost-shood, the misery of lack of virtue, the misery of clinging to self and possessions, the misery of evil-doing. If you want to be born human or divine, you should plant roots of goodness. Born in the human world or in a heaven, you will leave all situations in which enlightenment is difficult. Sentient beings, having heard this, give up error and perversity, practice good actions, leave all difficulties behind, and are born in the human world or in heaven. The second voice says, you should know that the myriad pains of all conditioned states are as searing as balls of hot iron. Conditioned states are impermanent and pass away. Nirvana is tranquil, unfabricated well-being, beyond all burning, extinguishing all inflaming afflictions. Having heard this, sentient beings diligently practice good principles, and in the vehicle of listeners to Buddha's voice attain the tolerance of conformity to the message. The third voice says, you should know that those in the vehicle of listeners follow the words of another to understand. Their knowledge and wisdom is narrow and inferior. There is a higher vehicle called the vehicle of the individually awakened, whose enlightenment does not depend on a teacher. You should learn it. Those inclined to a superior path, having heard this voice, give up the path of listeners and cultivate the vehicle of the individually awakened. The fourth voice says, you should know that there is an even higher path beyond the ranks of these two vehicles, which is called the Great Vehicle, practiced by enlightening beings, following the 6 transcendent ways, not stopping enlightening practice, not relinquishing the determination for enlightenment, being in the midst of infinite birth and death without getting sick of it. Going beyond the 2 vehicles of individual liberation, it is called the Great Vehicle, the foremost vehicle, the preeminent vehicle, the supreme vehicle, the highest vehicle, the unexcelled vehicle, the vehicle of benefiting all sentient beings. If there are any sentient beings whose resolve is very great, whose faculties are strong and keen, who have planted roots of goodness in the past, who are spiritually empowered by the Buddhas who have superior inclinations and seek Buddhahood, once they have heard this voice they arouse the determination for enlightenment. Buddha's voice does not come from the body or from the mind, yet it can benefit infinite sentient beings. This is the first characteristic of Buddha's voice. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Furthermore, just as an echo rises due to mountains, valley, and sound, and has no form, cannot be seen, and though it has no discrimination can follow all words, so also is the voice of Buddha. It has no form, cannot be seen, has no direction or location, yet is not without direction and location. It just emerges according to the conditions of sentient beings' inclinations and understandings. Its nature ultimately has no words, no information, and cannot be explained. This is the second characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Furthermore, it is like the heaven's great drum of law, called awakener. When the celestials act without restraint, the drum produces a voice in the sky saying, "You should know that all pleasures are impermanent, unreal, illusory, changing and disintegrating in a moment. They only fool the ignorant, causing attachment. Don't be indulgent, for the unrestrained fall into bad ways, and it is of no use to regret afterward." The indulgent celestials, having heard this voice, are greatly distressed and frightened. They leave the pleasures in their own abodes, go to the King of Gods, seek the truth and practice the way. The sound of that drum has no master, no maker, no origin, no destruction, yet it can benefit infinite sentient beings. Know that Buddha likewise utters the voice of infinite sublime truths in order to awaken indulgent beings, the voice of non-attachment, the voice of non-indulgence, the voice of impermanence, the voice of suffering, the voice of selflessness, the voice of impurity, the voice of annulment, the voice of nirvana, the voice of measureless spontaneous knowledge, the voice of incorruptible enlightening practices, the voice of all-pervasive effortless knowledge of Buddhas. These voices pervade the cosmos, awakening the beings therein. Countless sentient beings, having heard them, all become joyful and diligently cultivate good ways, each seeking emancipation by their respective vehicles of emancipation, that is, some practice the vehicle of listeners, some practice the vehicle of individual awakening, and some practice the unsurpassed great vehicle of enlightening beings. Yet the voice of Buddha does not remain in any place. It has no speech. This is the third characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Again, it is like the case of the celestial concubine of the great Lord God, named Beautiful Mouth, whose voice corresponds to 100,000 kinds of music, within each of which are also 100,000 different tones. Just as that goddess Beautiful Mouth produces countless sounds in one utterance, in the same way Buddha produces innumerable voices in one utterance, according to the differences in mentalities of sentient beings, reaching them all and enabling them to gain understanding. This is the fourth characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Also it is like the case of the great god Brahma, abiding in the Brahma palace, uttering the voice of Brahma, which all the Brahma masses hear, while the sound of the voice does not go outside that group. The Brahma divinities all think Brahma is speaking to them alone. The sublime voice of Buddha is also like this. All in the congregation at the sight of enlightenment hear it, while the sound does not go outside that group. Why? Because those whose faculties are not yet mature cannot hear it. Those who hear the voice each think Buddha is talking to them alone. The voice of Buddha neither emerges nor remains, yet can accomplish all works. This is the fifth characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Also, just as waters are all of one flavor, but according to the difference of the vessel, water has distinctions, yet the water has no thought or discrimination. Similarly, the speech of Buddha is of one flavor only, the flavor of liberation, but has innumerable distinctions according to the differences in mental vessels of sentient beings, yet without thought or discrimination. This is the sixth characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Also, it is like the case of the water spirit, heatless, producing great dense clouds covering the continent, showering sweet rain all over, so all the crops can grow and all the rivers, streams, springs, and lakes are full. This great rainwater does not come from the water spirit's body or mind, yet can benefit sentient beings in various ways. Similarly, Buddha produces the cloud of great compassion covering all worlds in the 10 directions, showering the rain of immortal truth, causing all sentient beings to become joyful, increase in goodness, and fulfill all vehicles of liberation. The voice of Buddha does not come from without and does not emerge from within, yet can benefit all sentient beings. This is the seventh characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Also, it is like when the water spirit thoughtful is going to shower rain. It does not do so immediately but first produces great clouds covering the sky, remaining still for 7 days waiting for people to finish their work, because that water spirit is benevolent and compassionate and does not want to trouble them. After 7 days it showers a fine rain, moistening the earth. Similarly, when Buddha is going to shower the rain of truth, he does not do so at once, but first produces great clouds of teaching in order to mature sentient beings, so they will not be startled or frightened. After they are mature, he showers on all the rain of immortal truth, expounding the most profound, subtle good teaching, gradually filling them with the flavor of the unexcelled teaching of omniscience of Buddhas. This is the eighth characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. In the ocean is a great water spirit called Magnificent Array. When it showers rain on the ocean, it may shower rain in 10 kinds of arrays, or 100, or 1,000, or rain in 100,000 kinds of arrays. The water has no discrimination. It is just the inconceivable power of the water spirit that causes its arrays to be infinitely different. Similarly, when Buddha teaches truth, it may be expressed in 10 different tones, or 100, or 1,000, or 100,000, or 84,000 tones explaining 84,000 practices, up to countless hundreds of thousands of millions of tones, each explaining the truth in particular ways to gladden all who hear. The voice of Buddha makes no discrimination. It is just that Buddhas complete and pure in the profound realm of truth, are able to make various utterances in accord with the needs of sentient beings, making them happy. This is the ninth characteristic of the voice of Buddha. Great enlightening beings should know it thus. Continue to video 4.